Morality.
Our sense of right and wrong is something many of us take for granted. Yet, when we look closely at its foundations, we begin to see how fragile, complex, and, at times, deeply personal it can be. Today, we will explore two very different, yet deeply influential perspectives on morality, from Friedrich Nietzsche and Jean-Paul Sartre, two thinkers who challenge us to rethink what it means to live ethically. Nietzsche invites us to see morality not as a fixed set of rules but as something deeply tied to human power and life itself. He introduces the idea of two moralities, what he calls master morality and slave morality. Master morality, in Nietzsche's terms, arises from the strong, from those who create their own values based on life-affirming qualities, strength, courage, and an embrace of risk. It's a morality rooted in confidence and self-overcoming. Slave morality, on the other hand, emerges from the powerless, the oppressed. It values humility, kindness, and meekness, not necessarily because these are inherently good, but because they offer survival, a way for the weak to assert a different kind of power, one born out of resentment. Nietzsche asks us to question the origins of our moral values and recognize that what we often consider good, or evil, might reflect underlying social dynamics rather than eternal truths. His call for a revaluation of all values is an invitation to move beyond inherited moral constraints, to create new values that affirm life's complexity, vitality, and struggle. Sartre approaches morality from a different angle. In a world where old certainties crumble, he posits a radical freedom at the heart of human existence. Man is condemned to be free, he says. This freedom is not a gift, but a burden, the weight of responsibility to make choices without any pre-written script. For Sartre, morality is not handed down from on high. It is something we must create ourselves, through the very act of choosing. There is no objective moral law beyond this. This freedom, however, is demanding. To deny it is to live in bad faith, a self-deception to avoid the anxiety and responsibility of choice. Yet Sartre's ethics do not condone selfishness. They require us to recognize the freedom of others, to respect it as our own. To limit another's freedom is the only genuine moral failing. In a world without fixed values, morality becomes a shared project of freedom, authenticity, and responsibility, a constant negotiation between self and other. Both Nietzsche and Sartre reject simple, universal morals, but they lead us down different paths. Nietzsche roots morality in power relations, highlighting a tension between strength and weakness, creation and ressentiment. Sartre places freedom and responsibility at the center, emphasizing the personal, sometimes lonely, task of meaning-making without predetermined guides. Nietzsche's perspective asks us to consider how social forces all good. Sartre reminds us that, ultimately, we are each the authors of our own ethical lives. So, when we ask ourselves about morality, perhaps the question is less about finding definitive answers, and more about embracing the ongoing challenge to live authentically, whether that means wrestling with our inner power or embracing our responsibility to freedom. Thank you for listening.